Welcome back to another episode of Palisade Radio. This is your host, Cullen Cattell. On the show with us today is a new guest to the program, David Stein. He's the founder of Aracura Capital, a company that's heavily focused on the silver space at this time. David, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Cullen.
David, you are focused on a niche space within a niche space, so silver within the commodity space right now. And I wanted to get you on the program. You put out a great article talking about the 3 reasons that you really like silver and silver miners at this point, and you're placing a lot of your own personal capital into this space. So I figured we'd start off first by just getting an introduction on your background, David, how you got into the space, and then we'll move on to talk about what it is that you like so much about silver.
Sure. So, my background is a combination of technical and financial. So educated as an engineer and geologist, and then went to work on Bay Street very early on, and I was a sell-side analyst for quite a while, and I've been an investment manager for quite a while, and I started, my own firm a little over a year ago, basically to, focus on niches that I see in the sector, and including things like private equity and certain types of transactions and also certain commodities. So, as you said, right now very focused on silver. Happens to be an opportunity that I've come across after doing a lot of deal review work and a lot of due diligence, and I'm very excited about the theme.
Excellent. Well, you put in your article the 3 reasons that you like silver so much, and that might be a good logical way to go through this in the radio interview. Do you want to just go through your 3 main points on why you find this to be such an attractive space right now?
Sure. So the first reason is that, I think silver mining, it can be a great business. And while, all silver mines are not created equal, of course, what I like about a lot of silver mines out there is that they are relatively small and high grade. And so that means that you can get, very big bang for your buck there. But, is the bottom line. And what I'm talking about specifically is capital intensity. Again, I've over my career now, about 20 years, I've reviewed, hundreds of projects. And I think in the world that we live in today, you really have to be conscious of capital and the cost of capital. And therefore, if you can build, a mine for 10 or 20 million versus more or less the same type of mine for 100 or 200 million, you obviously want to get that smaller size. And you can do that in the silver space, and you cannot do that in a lot of other commodities, a lot of other metals. You've basically got to go big. You have no choice. Silver, you can make you can develop or own a very good, profitable mine, and with very little capital. So that's what I like. And the reason is geologically, silver occurs in these very high grade veins, and sometimes other structures like mantos, a flat kind of version of the same thing. But and it also occurs with a lot of other metals. So even though you might have a silver dominated deposit, it will almost always come with either lead, zinc, or gold, and sometimes both, and even sometimes copper. So you get paid for all those other metals as well, while you're focusing obviously on the silver. So, all that adds up to, kind of something that you can actually finance in today's tough market, get into production, and then grow. And that's the kind of business that I like.
Excellent. Well, speaking about silver in comparison to, say, gold, I want to talk to you not on the specifics of mining, but the fundamentals, what you see in the silver market right now compared to some of the other metals out there, because certainly that's playing into your investment thesis quite a bit.
Yeah, that's the third reason. We can maybe talk about the second one later, but the third reason is, I like the fundamentals of the metal. Silver is, I have to admit, it's a hard one to analyze. I think people can get trapped into looking at only one facet of the silver market and make an investment decision based on that. But I think if you really look at the whole thing, You've got, rising demand long term in a lot of electronic and kind of new technology applications, which really support the demand side for silver. More than 50% of silver's demand actually goes into industrial uses, and it's not one use. It's varied, and it tends to be in applications that you cannot substitute anything else, for at least for the foreseeable future. Silver has some very unique metallic properties as a metal, and it's really irreplaceable. So that's good. You look at mine supply. Definitely there's not a lot from primary silver mines going on right now. Not a lot of growth. There's a lot of byproduct production, of course, but the biggest byproduct producer is also gold mines, and they're not growing either. So the gold production isn't growing globally either. So that's good. And then finally, investment demand is a big factor. That tends to be the swing factor. It's tied very heavily into the gold story. It's as silver has similar fundamentals from a kind of a macro point of view on the investment demand to gold. And I'm very bullish on gold, and I think if you like gold, you have to like silver even more, because when gold goes up, silver has a higher beta. It goes up more than gold does. So that's looking very good, I think.
Great, and I did skip around a bit. You're right. Your second reason, though, is based around a theme that we've discussed a lot on the program, especially as it pertains to uranium. And I always say that there's not very many uranium companies in the space, so if uranium goes up, investors only have so many public companies to look towards for an investment vehicle. The same can certainly be said for silver, as you outlined.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is as I've looked at the comparables and the silver mining companies, that were around when I was an analyst, they're almost all gone. They've almost all converted into gold mining companies with some accessory silver production. So think about Coeur, think about Hecla, Silver Standard, which is now SSR Mining, Silver Wheaton even, which is now Wheaton Precious Metals. And the list goes on and on and on. There are really fewer and fewer ways that you have a pure play to silver. And so if you can find the right company, you're going to get a lot of investor demand when the price of the commodity goes up, and that translates into a higher valuation. It's not that dissimilar, if I can throw in, a few more recent buzzwords, cannabis investing, blockchain investing. What you had there is, what we saw in the latter half of 2017 and early this year is you had massive investor demand, especially retail investor demand going into very few companies. And so the valuations of those companies skyrocketed. And you can say the same for cobalt and lithium now, if you want to turn to mining. And likewise, uranium and, of course, silver.
Well, with point number 2 there on the scarcity, I imagine there are some public companies you're looking at. Just to throw one out there to hit your point home is you look at what First Majestic did during the first half of 2016. I would say it probably outperformed 70 or 80% of the mining companies out there, because so much investment dollar looking for silver rushed into a very small space. Are there any companies public-wise that you'd like to mention you're looking at? And then I know you're also playing something even more niche than that you've got your own project you've picked up there, David.
Yeah, look, I'm not sure I have the disclosures to be able to make, specific stock recommendations, but, going sort of from largest to smallest of the companies that have actually been able to remain true silver miners. You've got Pan American as the biggest, and they still are dominantly a silver miner. And I'm talking about the Canadian companies for the most part, because those are the ones I'm most familiar with right now. So you got Pan American, you've got First Majestic, which you mentioned. They managed to stay true to their metal and did a creative deal with San Dimas to make sure that they get silver upside from that deal. And then you've got Endeavor next smallest. You go quite a lot smaller, and then you got Endeavor and Exelon, I guess, Great Panther. So those are sort of the peers out there that I've been looking at. And then, as you said, I've been investing directly in a silver mine as well.
And are you able to share any of the details of what you're working on, or is that going to have to stay under wraps until it becomes more public?
No, I think I can talk about it, broadly. As I said in the beginning, I've been very active on the private equity side of the business for the last 4 or 5 years, especially. And I was able to find a private silver mining company in Peru. So I'm currently, working with the owners to putting together a plan to optimize production there. There's a lot of upside I see from something like that, which is undercapitalized, and I think I can get a much bigger bang for my buck doing something like that than buying a public company. Of course, with a bit more risk, but that's something, again, as a private equity investor, I'm willing to take, and I feel like I've got the operating team and relationships in the industry that I can get it done. So that's the type of thing that I'm working on right now, or that I like working on. And as you alluded to, it's the silver mine that's occupying close to 100% of my focus right now.
In regards to 2018, I think a lot of our listeners here at Palisade Radio share your sentiment on the undervalued nature of resources, and probably silver in particular. Are you seeing an imminent move, hopefully unfolding? Because we've been stacking our chips for quite some time, but it seems like commodities day in the sun continues to get pushed back further and further. What's your feeling in the short term?
Well, I have to say, I definitely feel, sometimes it feels like that. I think we need some type of a catalyst to create that frenzy or that demand that we saw some years ago. One piece of macro news that I really noted recently was the budget that President Trump's putting forward, and basically giving up on balancing the budget for his entire term and beyond. And what that tells me is essentially you've got the most conservative government in terms of having a Republican president, Senate, and House that you've had in a long time. And they can't even tackle the debt. That's got to be bullish for gold in the not too distant future. And of course, as I said before, if gold goes up, silver will follow, and it will most likely outperform. So again, what that exact catalyst will be, who knows? But it does seem like things are lining up better and better for precious metals going forward. And that being said, while we all would love to see, I guess if you're long already, you'd love to see gold go to $2,000 tomorrow, but it actually has been performing not too badly since I think the bottom was in January 2016, and so the commodities have been rising since then. And I think honestly, the slower and more methodical of a base that we build here, the better the upside's going to be in the end. So I'm kind of quite okay with what's happening in the market.
For sure, and especially if you're building your own business, it takes time to get those sorts of deals consummated and together. So a nice slow build is probably good there. David, wrapping up, I want to see if you have any parting thoughts for our listeners, and also contact details if anybody wants to reach out to you, how they can do that.
You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm active there, and welcome to email me at david@aracuracapital.com. Look, I mean, I I really enjoy rolling up my sleeves and getting involved in mining deals, and this is a great market for that right now because it's not that it's been positive since 2016, but not so good that things are getting overpriced or deals are sort of running away. So look, it's an exciting time, and look forward to seeing what happens over the coming months.
Well, silver is certainly under-discussed and under-loved at this point, and for that reason, I thought it'd be a great idea to get you on the show to talk specifically about silver. David, thanks for sharing your thoughts, and we'll definitely get you back on the program some point in the future.
Thanks, Colin. It was a pleasure.
Think you understand the junior mining sector, and you think that the participants in the mining sector, junior mining sector, are good people and kind people, hit the bid.
How violent that term could be, it actually could be quite violent. It could be a rip-your-face-off uranium rally.
And the world is always going to need raw materials. It's going to need copper and gold and nickel and so forth.
Totally destabilized. Hey, Troll, did you hear what's going on in Yemen?